Chapter 1. The Power of Discipline in a Distracted World. It's easy to get lost in a world filled with distractions. The constant pull of social media, the relentless ping of emails, the endless cycle of entertainment. Each moment feels like a small tug away from what truly matters. In the midst of all this noise, there's one thing that stands apart, a silent force that has the power to shape who we are and determine the outcome of our lives: discipline. Now, discipline is not a word that's often associated with freedom or ease. In fact, when we hear the word, many of us think of something restrictive, perhaps even painful. The very mention of discipline can evoke feelings of resentment, as if it's a heavy weight we must bear in order to achieve success. But the truth is, discipline is the gateway to true freedom, the kind that's forged through choice, effort, and consistency. In this moment, let's consider the people we look up to, the athletes we admire, the entrepreneurs we envy, the leaders who inspire us. All of them share one thing in common: an unwavering commitment to discipline. They don't just rely on talent, luck, or external circumstances. They rely on themselves, and they shape their lives through their ability to stay consistent, to persevere, and to act with purpose, no matter the challenges or the distractions that come their way. Take a moment and reflect on your own life. Think about the goals you've set for yourself, whether they are personal or professional. Think about the dreams you hold dear, the vision you have for your future. Now, consider the moments when you've strayed from the path, the days when you lost focus, when the temptation to do something easier or more immediate pulled you away from the bigger picture. Those moments are natural, even inevitable, but they don't have to define you. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not a matter of intellect, opportunity, or even luck. It's about discipline. It's about the ability to keep going when things get tough, to stay focused when distractions arise, and to maintain momentum even when the road ahead seems long and uncertain. Think about a professional athlete, for instance. Their talent is obvious, but it's not enough to carry them to the highest levels of success. They wake up at the same time every day, follow a strict regimen of training, eating, and resting, regardless of how they feel in the moment. The most successful athletes aren't those who are always motivated. They're the ones who have cultivated discipline to push through even when they'd rather take a break. This is where the discipline mindset comes into play. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about making the right choices every single day, even when those choices feel difficult, inconvenient, or unrewarding. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when no one is watching, even when the world feels like it's offering you a million excuses to give up. As you begin this journey of understanding the discipline mindset, I invite you to think about your own relationship with discipline. How does it show up in your life? Is it something you practice regularly, or is it something that you only turn to when things get difficult? Do you see it as a tool for personal growth or as something that holds you back from enjoying life? By the end of this book, I want you to see discipline in a new light. I want you to understand that discipline is not a punishment, it's an opportunity to take control of your life, to build the future you want, and to become the person you're meant to be. As we move forward, we'll dive deep into the psychology behind discipline, explore the habits that build a strong mindset, and break down the barriers that keep most people from reaching their full potential. But first, let's start with the core understanding that discipline is the key. Everything else will fall into place once you recognize this. Let's begin our journey into understanding how to develop a disciplined mindset. When we talk about discipline, we're not just referring to the act of self-control or willpower. Discipline is a mindset, a way of thinking that permeates every action, decision, and interaction you have in life. It's not something you have or don't have. It's something you cultivate, practice, and refine over time. In the world we live in, where distractions are abundant, where instant gratification is just a click away, cultivating discipline is more important than ever. But it's not easy. It requires a mindset shift, one that moves away from short-term pleasures and focuses on long-term gains. let's take a step back and think about the nature of discipline. At its core, discipline is about making choices with purpose. It's about choosing what matters most, even when it's not the easiest choice in the moment. And in today's world, where everything seems to be vying for our attention, this kind of intentional decision making is the hallmark of success. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into how to strengthen this mindset. We'll look at the habits that feed into it, the small but impactful decisions you can make every day to begin shifting your behavior. But before we do that, I want you to take a moment to consider how discipline has shown up in your life so far. Think about times when you've shown discipline, when you've stuck to something even when it was hard, when you've committed to a goal and stayed the course. Those moments, however small they may seem, are proof that you already have the potential for discipline within you. The goal is to expand that potential, to make it a permanent part of who you are, so that it naturally guides your actions in every area of your life. As we explore the concept of discipline, it's important to understand that discipline is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It looks different for each person, based on their goals, values, and life circumstances. What makes one person feel disciplined may feel like a burden to someone else, but the underlying principle remains the same. Discipline is about making choices that align with your long-term objectives rather than giving in to the fleeting pleasures of the moment. Take a moment to think about your own life. When you wake up in the morning, what is your first thought? Are you immediately caught up in the rush of the day, the demands of work, or the distractions that await you? Or do you take a few moments to set your intention for the day ahead? Discipline begins the moment you wake up. It's the small decisions you make in the early hours that set the tone for the rest of the day. Maybe it's choosing to exercise before you start work, or deciding to avoid checking your phone for the first hour after you wake up. These are not just small habits. They're the foundation of a disciplined mindset. They help you take control of your time, your energy, and your focus so that you can direct them toward what matters most. As you start to build this mindset, it's important to recognize the role that consistency plays. Discipline isn't about doing something perfectly all the time. It's about showing up consistently, day after day, even when motivation wanes, even when it feels like the world is pushing you in a different direction. Can you think of it this way? Discipline is the muscle that gets stronger the more you use it. The more you choose to act in alignment with your goals, even when it's hard, the more natural it becomes to continue making those choices. You'll find that over time, your capacity for discipline grows, and what once felt like a struggle becomes second nature. This is why discipline is often compared to a muscle. It requires practice, and it's through practice that it becomes stronger. You may not see immediate results when you start, but that's okay. Discipline is about trusting the process and staying committed, even when the rewards are not immediately visible. But here's the key. You don't have to do it alone. You don't have to rely solely on your willpower or grit to get through tough moments. There are powerful tools that you can use to strengthen your discipline, tools that will help you stay on track, even when your motivation falters. One of these tools is your environment. Your environment has a profound impact on your ability to stay disciplined. The people you surround yourself with, the spaces you inhabit, the digital distractions you engage with, all of these factors influence your level of discipline. If you're constantly surrounded by temptation or distractions, it's much harder to maintain focus and stay on track. But if you create an environment that supports your goals, that reinforces the behaviors you want to cultivate, discipline becomes much easier to practice. This doesn't mean that you need to isolate yourself or eliminate all sources of entertainment or relaxation from your life. It simply means that you should be intentional about your environment. If you're trying to focus on writing a book, for example, you might choose to set up a quiet, distraction-free space to work in. You might turn off your phone or use apps that block social media during certain hours of the day. By creating an environment that aligns with your goals, you set yourself up for success and make discipline an easier habit to maintain. Similarly, the people you surround yourself with can either support or hinder your discipline. If you're constantly around people who lack discipline or who encourage you to stray from your path, it becomes much harder to stay focused. But if you surround yourself with individuals who are committed to their own growth and success, You'll naturally be influenced by their discipline. Knowing the energy and habits of the people around you have a way of rubbing off on you. So it's important to choose your relationships wisely. As you begin to implement these strategies, creating a supportive environment and surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals, you'll find that discipline becomes less of a struggle and more of a natural part of your daily routine. Over time, it will feel less like a forced effort and more like a habit that you can rely on to guide you toward your goals. But this process takes time. It requires patience, perseverance, and a willingness to stay the course, even when the going gets tough. And most importantly, it requires a willingness to forgive yourself when you slip up. Discipline is not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about the commitment to keep going, even after setbacks, knowing that each step forward is a step toward becoming the person you're meant to be. By now, you may be starting to understand that discipline isn't just about doing the hard work. It's about doing the right work consistently, regardless of the external circumstances. It's about choosing the long-term rewards over the short-term pleasures, knowing that your future self will thank you for the effort you put in today. Now that we've explored the foundation of discipline, it's time to dive deeper into how discipline connects to the way we think, act, and ultimately achieve our goals. In the next chapter, we'll explore the psychology behind discipline, the mental shifts that help you move from wishful thinking to concrete action. But before we move on, I want you to reflect on what we've discussed here. How does discipline show up in your life right now? Do you see it as a tool for success, or does it feel like an obstacle? How can you start cultivating more discipline, starting today? Chapter 2. The Psychology Behind Discipline, Shifting Your Mindset. Understanding the mind of a disciplined person. When we talk about discipline, we often think of it as an external action, a behavior that you either perform or don't. But discipline goes much deeper than that. It's not just about the act of doing. It's about the way you think, the way you perceive your goals, and the way you interact with your own mind. The truth is, the most disciplined people are not necessarily the ones with the most willpower. They're the ones who have mastered their mindset. They've learned to think in a way that automatically aligns with their goals, and their actions are a natural extension of this mindset. Let's begin with a basic concept. Your thoughts shape your actions. It might sound simple, but it's a powerful truth. Everything you do, every decision you make is influenced by what's going on inside your mind. Your thoughts dictate how you feel, and how you feel determines how you act. For example, think about how you feel when you start a new project. At first, there's excitement, energy, and motivation. But as the weeks go by, that initial spark can fade. You begin to encounter obstacles, distractions, and setbacks. If your mindset is weak, you might start thinking thoughts like, "This is too hard," or "I'll never get it right." These thoughts then lead to feelings of frustration, doubt, and eventually procrastination. On the other hand, a disciplined person has learned to manage their thoughts. Instead of focusing on the difficulty or the setbacks, they focus on the process. They remind themselves that progress takes time, that setbacks are a natural part of the journey, and that they're capable of overcoming challenges. This shift in mindset is what separates those who succeed from those who give up. One of the most important mindset shifts that disciplined people make is the way they view failure. For many of us, failure is something to be feared. It's a sign that we're not good enough, that we're not capable of achieving our goals. But for disciplined individuals, failure is not a reflection of their ability. It's simply a part of the process. Think about any successful person you admire. Chances are they've failed many times along the way. They've made mistakes. They've faced rejection, and they've encountered obstacles that seemed insurmountable. But instead of giving up, they learned from those failures. They used them as stepping stones, knowing that every failure brought them one step closer to success. The disciplined mindset doesn't see failure as the end. It sees failure as an opportunity to learn and grow. It understands that every setback is simply a lesson in resilience, and that the road to success is rarely a straight line. By embracing failure and using it to fuel your determination, you can shift your mindset from one of fear to one of growth. Another key aspect of a disciplined mindset is delayed gratification. In today's world, we're surrounded by instant rewards. We can order food and have it delivered in minutes. We can scroll through social media and get instant likes and comments. But discipline requires the ability to put off immediate pleasure for the sake of long-term goals. This doesn't mean that you should deprive yourself of enjoyment. It simply means that you learn to prioritize what truly matters. When you're working toward a big goal, it's easy to get distracted by the small pleasures that come your way. But disciplined people understand that true fulfillment comes from achieving something meaningful, not from the fleeting pleasures that come from instant gratification. This is where the concept of sacrificing short-term pleasure for long-term gain comes into play. When you choose to stay focused on your goal, even when it means saying no to something enjoyable in the moment, you're exercising the power of discipline. You're training your mind to prioritize what's truly important, and in doing so, you're setting yourself up for future success. The most disciplined people are also those who understand the importance of routine and structure. They know that, while motivation comes and goes, habits and routines are what keep them going. Motivation is often fleeting, but discipline is built through consistent action. It's the small, everyday habits that add up over time to create big results. This is why creating a daily routine is so powerful. When you have a set routine, your mind doesn't have to make decisions about what to do next. It simply follows the plan. This reduces the mental energy needed to stay on task and makes it easier to stay focused. A disciplined person doesn't waste energy debating whether they should work out, eat healthily, or focus on their goals. They simply do it because it's a part of their routine. But routines are not set in stone. They can be adjusted and refined as you learn more about yourself and your goals. The key is consistency. If you can maintain a routine, even on the days when you don't feel like it, you're building discipline. And over time, this discipline becomes second nature. The disciplined mindset also includes a healthy relationship with time. Many people are overwhelmed by the demands of modern life, constantly feeling like there's not enough time in the day to do everything. But disciplined individuals understand that time is one of their most valuable resources. They make intentional decisions about how to use their time, recognizing that every minute spent is an investment in their future. One of the ways to develop a disciplined relationship with time is by setting clear priorities. When you know what matters most, you can make better decisions about where to spend your time. You can eliminate the distractions, the activities that don't move you closer to your goals, and focus on what truly matters. This is where the power of focus comes into play, the ability to give your full attention to one task at a time, without getting distracted by the noise around you. As we move forward, we'll explore more strategies for strengthening your disciplined mindset. We'll dive into how to build strong habits, how to overcome the mental barriers that hold us back, and how to develop the resilience needed to stay disciplined, even in the face of adversity. But before we continue, I want you to take a moment to reflect on your own mindset. How do you view discipline? Is it something that feels restrictive, or do you see it as a tool for freedom? Are you ready to embrace the mindset of someone who succeeds, not just because of their talent, but because of their unwavering commitment to discipline? As you begin to shift your mindset, it's important to remember that discipline isn't something that happens overnight. It's a journey, one that requires persistence, patience, and a commitment to growth. The foundation of discipline lies in your ability to control your thoughts, emotions, and actions. But this takes time and effort to build. One of the most powerful tools you have in developing a disciplined mindset is self-awareness. Before you can change your behavior, you need to understand it. You need to become aware of the patterns in your life that either support or hinder your progress. Self-awareness allows you to identify where you are right now, and more importantly, where you want to go. Ask yourself, what are the habits and thought patterns that are preventing you from achieving your goals? What distractions or negative influences are pulling you away from your path? By being honest with yourself about these areas, you can begin to take the necessary steps to change them. Self-awareness is not about self-criticism. It's about understanding yourself deeply. It's about seeing the habits that are working for you and the ones that are holding you back. It's about noticing when you're tempted to give in to distractions and choosing a different path. When you're aware of your tendencies, you can make conscious decisions to act differently. But awareness alone isn't enough. Awareness must be followed by action. Once you've identified the areas where you need to improve, the next step is to take deliberate action to change those behaviors. This requires discipline. Let's take a moment and reflect on one of the most common challenges people face when trying to develop discipline: the battle against procrastination. Procrastination is the act of delaying or postponing tasks, often because they feel too overwhelming, uninteresting, or difficult. But procrastination is a product of our mindset. It's the result of thinking that we need to feel motivated before we take action. The truth is, motivation is not something that magically appears. It's something that grows through consistent action. Motivation is often the result of momentum. When you start to take small steps toward a task, even when you don't feel like it, the momentum builds. Suddenly, the task doesn't seem as daunting, and motivation kicks in. This is where the power of discipline comes into play. Discipline allows you to start, even when you don't feel motivated. It gives you the ability to take the first step, even when it feels difficult, and to continue taking steps until the task is complete. And once you've built that momentum, motivation follows naturally. Discipline also requires you to overcome the fear of failure. Many people avoid taking action because they're afraid of making mistakes or falling short of their goals. But the reality is that failure is a part of the process. It's not something to fear, but something to embrace. Every time you fail, you gain valuable insights that bring you closer to success. Think of the most successful people in the world, whether it's in business, sports, or personal development. They've all faced failure, but instead of allowing failure to stop them, they've used it as a learning experience. They've asked themselves, what can I learn from this? And how can I do better next time? And this mindset has propelled them to greater heights. When you adopt a disciplined mindset, you shift your perspective on failure. Instead of seeing it as something that defines you, you see it as an opportunity to grow. You understand that setbacks are not permanent and that each failure is a stepping stone toward eventual success. Another important aspect of developing a disciplined mindset is managing your emotions. Emotions are powerful forces that can drive us to action or cause us to freeze in place. But emotions are not always reliable guides. They often mislead us, leading us to make decisions based on temporary feelings instead of long-term goals. Discipline involves learning how to manage your emotions, especially when they threaten to derail your progress. It's about recognizing when emotions like frustration, fear, or anger are influencing your behavior and choosing to act in a way that aligns with your values and goals, rather than reacting impulsively to your feelings. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It means learning how to observe them without letting them control your actions. It means acknowledging your feelings, but choosing to act based on your deeper sense of purpose and commitment. For example, imagine you're working toward a career goal, but you encounter a setback, a project doesn't go as planned, or a colleague criticizes your work. It's natural to feel frustrated or discouraged in that moment. But a disciplined person doesn't let those emotions dictate their behavior. Instead of giving in to negativity, they take a step back, reflect on the situation, and decide how to move forward. They choose to focus on what they can control: their actions, their responses, and their next steps. This is the power of emotional discipline. It allows you to stay calm in the face of challenges, to maintain focus when things go wrong, and to keep pushing forward, even when emotions threaten to pull you off track. The more you practice this emotional discipline, the stronger your mindset becomes. You begin to see obstacles as opportunities to grow, and challenges as tests of your character. You understand that the path to success is not always smooth, but your ability to remain disciplined in the face of adversity is what ultimately leads to triumph. One of the final elements in the psychology of discipline is the concept of self-motivation. While discipline is often associated with external accountability, such as a coach, mentor, or boss, self-motivation is about tapping into your internal drive. It's the ability to push yourself to take action, even when no one else is watching. Self-motivation comes from a deep sense of purpose. It's the belief that the work you're doing is meaningful, that it aligns with your values, and that it will ultimately lead to the results you desire. When you're motivated from within, the discipline becomes a natural byproduct of your drive. You don't need someone else to push you, because your internal motivation propels you forward. In the next chapter, we'll look at practical strategies to build the habits and routines that support discipline. We'll explore how to break free from the habits that hinder your progress and how to create new, productive habits that will help you achieve your goals. But before we move forward, take a moment to reflect on your own mindset. How often do you allow your emotions to control your decisions? When was the last time you failed, and how did you respond? Are you ready to take control of your thoughts, emotions, and actions to develop a mindset of discipline that will carry you toward your goals? Chapter 3: Building the Discipline Habits That Stick. The Science of Habit Formation. As we journey through the landscape of discipline, we begin to realize something crucial. Discipline is not just about willpower, it's about habits. Habits are the automatic behaviors that drive our daily lives. They determine how we start our day, how we approach challenges, and how we manage our time. But what makes habits so powerful is that, once formed, they require little to no effort to maintain. They become second nature. If you've ever tried to make a change in your life, whether it's exercising more, eating healthier, or waking up earlier, you've likely experienced the difficulty of sticking with it. Initially, motivation is high, but over time it fades. This is where discipline comes into play. Discipline is what allows you to keep going, even when the initial excitement wanes. But it's important to understand that discipline is not something you can simply will into existence. It's something that must be nurtured, developed, and reinforced through the formation of strong habits. When you cultivate positive habits, they support your discipline, making it easier to stay focused, consistent, and on track toward your goals. So, how do you build these habits? Let's break it down. The science behind habit formation reveals that habits follow a cycle: cue, routine, and reward. Every habit starts with a cue, a trigger that prompts the behavior. It could be something external, like seeing your gym clothes in the morning, or something internal, like feeling stressed. The routine is the behavior that follows the cue, and the reward is the feeling you get after completing the behavior, whether it's the satisfaction of finishing a workout or the relief of stress. Over time, the brain forms associations between the cue, the routine, and the reward. This repetition is what makes the habit stick. The more consistently you follow this cycle, the more ingrained the habit becomes. For example, let's say you want to start a morning exercise routine. Your cue might be the sound of your alarm in the morning. The routine is getting up and exercising, and the reward is the energy and sense of accomplishment you feel afterward. Initially, the effort it takes to follow this cycle may feel like a struggle, but with time, as you repeat this process day after day, your brain begins to automate the behavior. Soon enough, you'll find that you don't have to rely on motivation to get up and work out. You'll simply do it because it's become a habit. This is the key to building lasting discipline, turning your desired behaviors into habits that operate automatically. The more you repeat a behavior and reinforce the cycle of cue, routine, and reward, the more effortless it becomes. Discipline then becomes a natural extension of these habits. However, building new habits requires patience. It's important to remember that habits don't form overnight. According to research, it takes an average of 66 days to establish a new habit, although it can take longer depending on the complexity of the behavior and the individual. This means that if you're working on building a disciplined habit, like waking up earlier or exercising daily, you need to stay committed for the long haul. But there's a trick. Start small. One of the most common mistakes people make when trying to form a new habit is trying to do too much, too soon. This sets them up for failure as the behavior becomes overwhelming. Instead, start with small, manageable actions that you can easily integrate into your daily routine. For example, if you're trying to wake up earlier, don't aim for a drastic change, like waking up 3 hours earlier. Instead, start by waking up just 15 minutes earlier each day. Gradually, you'll adapt to this new routine, and soon enough, you'll find it easier to wake up earlier without much effort. Another important aspect of habit formation is consistency. It's not enough to practice a behavior sporadically and hope it will stick. You need to practice it consistently. This is where discipline comes in. Discipline is what keeps you on track when motivation fades, when distractions arise, and when you feel tempted to quit. When you commit to practicing a behavior every single day, even when it's difficult, you're reinforcing the habit. Over time, your brain will recognize this behavior as a normal part of your routine, and it will become easier and more automatic. The key to building disciplined habits is to make them non-negotiable. Treat them as something that you simply do, not something that you choose to do based on how you feel. Just like brushing your teeth or eating breakfast, disciplined habits should become an ingrained part of your daily routine. This takes time, but with persistence, it will happen. As we delve deeper into building disciplined habits, it's essential to explore the role of accountability. While self-discipline is crucial, having someone to hold you accountable can make a world of difference. Accountability partners, whether they are friends, mentors, or even a fitness coach, can help you stay on track when your motivation wanes. They can provide encouragement, offer perspective, and remind you of your goals when you start to lose focus. The power of accountability lies in its ability to create external pressure to follow through. When you know someone else is depending on you to stay committed, it makes it harder to let go of your goal. Accountability creates a sense of responsibility that helps reinforce your commitment to your habits. It also helps you overcome the natural human tendency to avoid discomfort or challenge. But accountability works best when it's balanced with self-reliance. It's not enough to rely solely on others to keep you disciplined. You must also develop your internal motivation and self-discipline so that even when no one else is watching, you continue to act in alignment with your goals. One of the best ways to ensure consistency in your habits is to track your progress. Tracking is a powerful tool for reinforcing discipline because it allows you to visually see your efforts over time. When you see that you're making progress, even if it's small, it boosts your motivation to continue. It reminds you that your efforts are paying off and that the discipline you're cultivating is moving you closer to your goals. Tracking progress can be done in a variety of ways. You could use a habit tracking app, keep a journal, or simply mark off days on a calendar. The method you choose doesn't matter as long as it helps you stay focused on your goals and encourages you to keep moving forward. The journey to building discipline through habit formation is not always smooth. There will be setbacks, distractions, and moments when you question whether it's all worth it. But the key is to stay committed. Every small effort counts. Every day you show up, you're building a stronger foundation for your future. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to overcome the mental barriers that prevent most people from sticking to their disciplined habits. We'll look at the ways you can manage resistance, break through procrastination, and cultivate the resilience needed to stay disciplined no matter what. But for now, I want you to reflect on the habits you've already formed in your life. Think about the behaviors that have become automatic, whether they're positive or negative. How did they form? What patterns do you notice? And what new habits would you like to create to support your discipline and long-term growth? Now that we understand the process of habit formation and how discipline is intrinsically tied to the habits we build, it's time to address the inevitable resistance that we all face when trying to make lasting change. No matter how motivated you are, there will always be obstacles, both internal and external, that try to pull you away from your goals. Overcoming these barriers is a crucial part of cultivating a disciplined mindset. The first barrier we often face is procrastination. It's a natural reaction when we're confronted with tasks that feel difficult, overwhelming, or uninspiring. Procrastination is not a sign of laziness. It's a response to discomfort. The brain is wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. So when a task feels like it will be too difficult or unpleasant, our natural instinct is to delay it, sometimes indefinitely. But procrastination is the enemy of progress. To overcome procrastination, you need to shift your focus from the difficulty of the task to the benefits of completing it. This is where discipline comes in. Discipline is what allows you to do the hard things even when they don't feel good in the moment. It's the ability to take action, even when your brain is telling you to wait for a better time, or when you feel overwhelmed by the enormity of the task. A powerful way to combat procrastination is to break your tasks down into smaller, more manageable steps. Often, we procrastinate because the task ahead seems too big or too complex. But when you break it down into bite-sized pieces, the task becomes more approachable. Instead of thinking, I have to write an entire report, you can think, today, I'll write the introduction. By focusing on the next small step, rather than the big picture, you can make progress without feeling overwhelmed. This strategy also works because it helps you build momentum. Once you complete a small task, you feel a sense of accomplishment that drives you to keep going. And this is where discipline thrives, when you build momentum through consistent small actions. Another critical barrier to discipline is the fear of failure. So many of us are afraid to start something because we're worried that we won't succeed or that we'll fall short of our own expectations. This fear can be paralyzing, preventing us from even taking the first step. But here's the truth. Failure is an inevitable part of growth. It's not something to fear, it's something to embrace. In fact, discipline grows strongest through failure. Every time you fail, you learn valuable lessons that help you refine your approach. You gain new insights about what works and what doesn't. Failure is a teacher one that guides you toward better strategies and more effective ways of reaching your goals. But it's important to note that failure only becomes a learning opportunity when you maintain a disciplined mindset. When you give up after a setback, failure becomes a dead end. But when you stay committed and keep pushing forward, failure becomes a stepping stone. This mindset shift is essential for long-term success. Instead of viewing failure as a sign that you're not cut out for success, start seeing it as part of the journey. When you fail, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? And what's the next step I can take to move forward? As you build discipline, it's crucial to understand that setbacks will happen. But each setback is simply a temporary detour, not the end of the road. The true measure of discipline is not how many times you fall, but how many times you get back up. Along with procrastination and fear of failure, another major obstacle to discipline is lack of consistency. It's easy to start something with great enthusiasm, but maintaining that enthusiasm over time is much harder. And consistency is the key to creating lasting change, and it's something that requires daily commitment. To maintain consistency, you need to establish routines and systems that make discipline effortless. The more structured your environment, the less you'll have to rely on willpower. For example, if your goal is to exercise regularly, make it a non-negotiable part of your day. Set a specific time to work out each day and treat it like an appointment you can't miss. The more consistent you are with this routine, the easier it will be to keep going, even on days when you don't feel like it. One of the best ways to ensure consistency is to track your progress. As mentioned in the previous section, tracking helps you see the small wins, even when the overall goal feels far off. It reinforces the positive behavior and keeps you focused on the progress you're making. Whether it's through a habit tracker, a journal, or simply marking off each successful day on a calendar, tracking helps you maintain a sense of accomplishment that keeps you moving forward. Another tool for maintaining consistency is the concept of accountability. As we discussed earlier, having someone to hold you accountable can significantly improve your chances of success. When you share your goals with someone else, whether it's a friend, a mentor, or a coach, you create external pressure to follow through. Accountability adds a layer of responsibility that keeps you from letting yourself off the hook. However, accountability works best when it's balanced with self-reliance. You should be accountable not just to others, but to yourself. Your commitment to your own growth and success is the strongest driving force behind your discipline. While external accountability can be helpful, it's your internal commitment that ultimately determines whether or not you succeed. As we move forward in our exploration of discipline, we'll dive deeper into how to cultivate resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks and keep pushing forward when life gets tough. Resilience is the quality that allows you to stay disciplined, even when you face challenges, and it's something that can be developed with practice. But before we continue, take a moment to reflect on the obstacles that have stood in the way of your discipline. Are there patterns of procrastination or fear of failure that you recognize in your own life? How can you shift your mindset to view setbacks as opportunities for growth? And what steps can you take today to overcome the barriers that are preventing you from staying consistent? Chapter 4: Overcoming Resistance, Mastering the Mental Barriers. Identifying and conquering inner resistance. In every journey towards success, there comes a point when resistance shows up. It's not an external force. It's internal, created by your own thoughts, emotions, and fears. Resistance manifests itself in many forms, and it's one of the primary reasons people fail to maintain discipline and achieve their goals. But resistance isn't something to fear. It's something to understand and manage. Resistance comes in different shapes and sizes, but it all stems from one core thing: discomfort. We resist because we don't want to feel uncomfortable. And whether it's physical discomfort, like the tiredness we feel after a long day at work, or emotional discomfort, like the fear of failure or judgment, resistance is the brain's way of protecting us from the unknown. But what if we told you that discomfort is actually the path to growth? What if you could reframe resistance and use it as a signal that you're on the right track? The most successful people aren't those who avoid resistance. They're the ones who push through it, understanding that on the other side of discomfort lies progress. The first step in overcoming resistance is recognizing it. Resistance often shows up as procrastination, self-doubt, or distractions. You might think, "I'll do it tomorrow," or "This is too hard for me." These thoughts are all forms of resistance. The more aware you are of these thoughts, the easier it will be to push past them. Take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. When was the last time you resisted something important to you? Maybe it was a workout you didn't feel like doing or a project you kept putting off. What did you feel in those moments? Did you experience doubt, fear, frustration? These feelings are natural, but they don't have to control you. When resistance shows up, it's often a sign that you're about to do something that challenges you, that pushes you out of your comfort zone. And this is where discipline thrives. Discipline is not about avoiding discomfort. It's about learning how to move through it. The more you face resistance and push through it, the stronger your discipline becomes. There's a powerful practice you can use to overcome resistance: the 5-minute rule. As the 5-minute rule is simple. When you feel resistance to starting a task, commit to doing it for just 5 minutes. Set a timer and promise yourself that you'll work on the task for just 5 minutes. You'll be surprised how often, once you've started, the resistance melts away. 5 minutes is often enough to get over the initial hump and build momentum. Another key to overcoming resistance is learning to separate your feelings from your actions. Too often, we let our emotions dictate what we do. If we don't feel motivated, we don't act. But discipline requires you to act regardless of how you feel. The most successful people don't wait for motivation. They create it through their actions. This is where mental toughness comes in. Mental toughness is the ability to keep going when things get tough, trying to stay focused even when you don't feel like it, and to push through resistance without letting it derail your progress. Mental toughness is built through consistent action, and it's strengthened by the way you respond to challenges. To develop mental toughness, you need to learn to embrace discomfort. It's easy to take the path of least resistance, to do what feels good in the moment. But true growth happens when you lean into discomfort, when you push through the resistance instead of avoiding it. It's in those moments of discomfort that you discover the depth of your own strength and resilience. Let's explore the second type of resistance that often holds people back: fear of failure. Fear of failure is a powerful force, and it can prevent you from even trying to pursue your goals. It's a fear of falling short, now of not being good enough, of making mistakes and being judged. But fear of failure is nothing more than a story you tell yourself. It's a story that keeps you stuck in inaction, trapped by the possibility of what could go wrong. The reality is, failure is not something to fear, it's something to learn from. Every successful person has experienced failure at some point. It's part of the process. What matters is how you respond to failure. Do you let it stop you, or do you use it as a lesson? One way to overcome the fear of failure is to change the way you view it. Instead of seeing failure as a reflection of your inadequacy, see it as a sign that you're trying. You're stepping out of your comfort zone and pushing the boundaries of what you're capable of. Failure is a natural part of growth, and it's through failure that you learn the most valuable lessons. The fear of failure is often tied to perfectionism. Perfectionism is the belief that you must do everything flawlessly, without mistakes and without setbacks. But perfectionism is a trap. It's a form of resistance that keeps you from taking action. When you believe that failure is unacceptable, you avoid taking risks, and as a result, you remain stagnant. To overcome perfectionism, you need to embrace progress over perfection. Understand that doing something imperfectly is better than doing nothing at all. Every small step you take, even if it's imperfect, brings you closer to your goal. Discipline is about moving forward, not about achieving perfection. A simple way to break free from perfectionism is to set realistic expectations. Instead of aiming for flawlessness, aim for improvement. Focus on the process, not just the outcome. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? And how can I do better next time? When you shift your focus to growth, you'll find that perfectionism loses its grip on you. The third form of resistance is the one we often don't see coming: burnout. We live in a world that celebrates hustle and productivity, but this constant drive can lead to exhaustion and burnout if we're not careful. Discipline doesn't mean pushing yourself to the brink. It's about balance, consistency, and sustainability. You can be disciplined without sacrificing your well-being. To avoid burnout, it's important to pace yourself. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of starting a new project, but if you don't allow yourself time to rest and recharge, you'll burn out quickly. Schedule regular breaks, get enough sleep, and make time for activities that replenish your energy. Also, don't forget the importance of self-compassion. When you're working hard toward a goal, it's easy to be hard on yourself, especially when you feel like you're not doing enough. But discipline requires kindness to yourself. Allow yourself to make mistakes, to rest when needed, and to honor the progress you've made so far. As we continue our journey into overcoming resistance, remember that discipline is not about avoiding challenges, it's about meeting them head on with the determination to keep moving forward. Whether you're facing procrastination, fear of failure, or burnout, there are strategies and tools you can use to push past resistance and stay on track, yet breaking through. Resistance. Cultivating resilience and grit. Resistance comes in many forms, but there's one more layer that we haven't explored yet, and it's perhaps the most powerful force when it comes to achieving discipline: resilience. Resilience is the quality that allows you to keep going when everything seems to be working against you. It's the ability to bounce back after failure, to remain committed when times are tough, and to stay disciplined even in the face of overwhelming obstacles. It's easy to stay disciplined when things are going well, when you're motivated, when progress is visible, and when success seems just within reach. But what happens when the road gets rough? What happens when things don't go according to plan? When setbacks feel constant, and when progress seems slow or non-existent? This is where resilience comes in. Resilience is not about avoiding adversity, it's about developing the ability to persevere in the face of it. It's about staying focused on your goals, even when the path ahead seems uncertain or difficult. And this is where the real power of discipline lies. Let's explore what it means to be resilient. Resilience is a mental and emotional trait that can be cultivated over time. It's not something you're born with, it's something you develop through experience, practice, and reflection. Just like discipline, resilience grows stronger the more you use it. And while it's easy to think of resilient people as unshakable or invincible, the truth is that resilience is about being able to bend without breaking. It's about enduring hardship without losing sight of your purpose. And one of the most important aspects of resilience is the ability to reframe failure. When you face a setback or obstacle, it's easy to view it as a failure, as something that defines you and your ability to succeed. But resilient people have learned to view failure differently. They see it as a challenge to overcome, not a dead end. They see each failure as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to try again. In fact, the most resilient people are those who fail the most, but they don't let failure stop them. They use it as fuel. When they fall down, they get back up. When things don't go as planned, they adjust their approach. Resilient people know that success is not about avoiding failure. It's about learning from it, refining your approach, and continuing to move forward. This is where discipline plays a key role. Say, discipline is what allows you to keep going even after setbacks, to remain committed even when motivation fades, and to stay focused on your long-term vision despite the obstacles in your path. Without resilience, discipline can feel like a constant battle. But with resilience, discipline becomes something that fuels you, pushes you forward, and keeps you moving toward your goals, even when the journey is hard. So, how do you cultivate resilience? The first step is to shift your mindset. Instead of seeing setbacks as signs of failure, view them as part of the process. Understand that challenges are inevitable and that overcoming them is what will make you stronger. Resilient people are not those who avoid adversity. They are the ones who face it head on, knowing that it is through adversity that true growth occurs. Another important aspect of resilience is self-compassion. When things don't go as planned, it's easy to beat yourself up. You might think that you're not good enough, that you're failing, or that you'll never achieve your goals. But resilience requires you to treat yourself with kindness during tough times. Instead of focusing on your mistakes, focus on what you can learn from them. Remind yourself that you're human and that failure is not a reflection of your worth or your potential. It's simply a part of the journey. Building resilience also requires you to embrace discomfort. The most resilient people are those who are willing to step out of their comfort zones, to face challenges, and to push through difficult situations. When you embrace discomfort, you develop mental toughness. You become accustomed to the feeling of stretching beyond your limits, and in doing so, you grow stronger with each challenge you face. But here's the secret. Resilience doesn't come from enduring hardship alone. It comes from finding meaning in that hardship. It comes from having a sense of purpose that drives you forward even when things get tough. Resilient people have a clear vision of their goals, and they are willing to endure temporary discomfort to achieve long-term success. When you have a strong why or reason for doing what you do, it becomes much easier to stay resilient. This is where discipline and resilience align. Discipline keeps you on track, even when you don't feel like it. Resilience ensures that you can bounce back when setbacks occur and continue pursuing your goals, no matter how many obstacles you face along the way. Let's return to the example of an athlete. The most successful athletes are often those who have faced the most adversity. They've endured injuries, losses, and setbacks, yet they continue to push forward. They don't let failure define them. Instead, they use it to fuel their drive, knowing that each challenge makes them stronger and more capable. This is the mindset you must cultivate if you want to develop both discipline and resilience. It's not about avoiding challenges or staying in your comfort zone. It's about embracing challenges, learning from failures, and continuing to move forward with determination and purpose. One of the most powerful ways to develop resilience is to keep a long-term perspective. When you're in the midst of a challenge, it can be hard to see beyond the present moment. But resilient people know that setbacks are temporary. They know that each obstacle is just another step on the road to success. And by maintaining a long-term perspective, they are able to stay focused on the bigger picture, rather than getting bogged down by the short-term difficulties they encounter. When you cultivate both discipline and resilience, you begin to see challenges differently. You understand that discipline isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. And resilience isn't about avoiding failure, it's about learning from it and using it to propel you forward. As we move forward, we'll explore how to incorporate both discipline and resilience into your daily life. We'll look at how to create a sustainable, long-term growth plan that balances persistence with flexibility. But before we continue, take a moment to reflect on your own resilience. How do you handle challenges? How do you respond to setbacks? Are you ready to embrace discomfort, learn from your failures, and push through resistance to achieve your goals? Chapter 5. The role of consistency and patience in building lasting discipline. Why consistency is the key to mastering discipline. As we've explored the foundational elements of discipline, one crucial aspect remains at the heart of it all: consistency. Consistency is the bedrock upon which all success is built. Discipline is not a temporary burst of effort that fades once the initial excitement wears off. It is a long-term commitment to your goals and a willingness to show up day in and day out, regardless of how you feel or what obstacles arise. Think of consistency like the steady drip of water that eventually carves through solid rock. At first, the effect seems insignificant. The rock remains unchanged, and the water seems to have little power. But over time, with consistent force, the water shapes the rock, wearing it down and eventually creating a path. This is how consistency works in your life. Many people struggle with consistency because they expect immediate results. They put in a few days or weeks of hard work and then get frustrated when they don't see dramatic changes. But consistency is about playing the long game. It's about trusting that every small action, every disciplined effort is moving you closer to your goal, even when the results aren't immediately visible. Consider the example of learning a new skill. If you want to learn a new language, for instance, you don't need to master it in 1 week. What you need is consistent practice over time. Maybe it's 15 minutes a day of studying vocabulary or listening to a podcast in that language during your commute. It might feel like you're not making much progress in the beginning, but if you remain consistent over months and years, you'll find that the language becomes second nature. You won't have mastered it all at once, but you'll have built the foundation for fluency. This same principle applies to everything you want to achieve in life. Whether it's fitness, building a business, or improving your personal relationships, the key is consistency. The small daily efforts compound over time and eventually lead to extraordinary results. It's important to remember that consistency doesn't mean perfection. It's not about doing everything flawlessly every single day. Life will inevitably throw curveballs. You'll have days when you miss a workout, eat something unhealthy, or fall short of your intended goal. But consistency is about getting back on track, not giving up. It's about picking up where you left off rather than throwing in the towel because things didn't go perfectly. One of the greatest challenges people face in maintaining consistency is the temptation to quit when they don't see immediate results. This is particularly true when the path ahead feels long or the goal seems distant. But the truth is, the small progress you make every day is actually the most important. Those incremental improvements, though they may seem insignificant, are the ones that add up to major accomplishments. For example, think about your physical health. It's easy to see immediate results from a single workout or a healthy meal, but the real benefits come from showing up day after day, week after week. Each workout is a small victory, and over time, those small victories lead to real, lasting changes in your body, your health, and your overall well-being. This is the essence of discipline: showing up every day, doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, even when the results aren't immediate, and trusting that each small action will add up to something significant. The power of patience in the discipline process. While consistency is crucial, it's important to also recognize that discipline requires patience. Patience is what allows you to stay committed to your goals over the long term, even when the progress is slow or when the results seem far off. Patience is the antidote to impatience, and it's the key to overcoming the frustration that often comes with long-term goals. In today's fast-paced world, where instant gratification is the norm, it can be difficult to accept that some things take time. But the reality is, true transformation and growth take time. Whether you're building a business, pursuing personal development, or working on improving your health, the process is gradual. And that's okay. Consider the process of planting a seed. When you plant a seed in the soil, you don't expect it to immediately sprout into a tree. It takes time. The seed needs to take root, grow, and be nurtured before it can fully bloom. In the same way, your goals need time to develop. They need your consistent effort, your patience, and your commitment to continue even when you don't see immediate results. This is where many people fall short. They start with enthusiasm, work hard for a few weeks, and then become discouraged when they don't see the kind of progress they expected. They stop watering the seed. They stop putting in the work. But in the process of building discipline, the real power lies in your ability to be patient. It's about trusting the process, understanding that the work you're putting in today will yield results in the future. Patience also helps you manage the inevitable setbacks that will come your way. No journey is linear. There will be times when things don't go according to plan. You may encounter obstacles, experience failure, or face challenges that make you question whether it's worth it. Patience allows you to persevere during these times, to keep going even when the going gets tough. One of the most important aspects of patience is learning to manage your expectations. When you expect rapid progress, you're more likely to become discouraged when things move slowly. But when you adjust your expectations and understand that true success takes time, you're able to stay grounded and motivated. You'll be able to celebrate small wins along the way, knowing that they are part of a much larger journey. This is why it's so important to set realistic, long-term goals. When you have a clear vision of where you want to go and a realistic understanding of how long it will take to get there, you can develop the patience to see it through. It's not about rushing the process. It's about being consistent, staying focused, and trusting that the work you're doing today is leading you toward the future you want. As you continue to build discipline in your life, remember that consistency and patience go hand in hand. They are the two forces that will keep you moving forward, even when the path ahead seems uncertain or slow. By practicing consistency in your daily actions and cultivating patience as you wait for the results, you'll build a foundation for long-term success. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to stay motivated during challenging times and how to overcome the natural urges to procrastinate or give up when things get difficult. We'll also discuss how to refine your vision and stay aligned with your goals so that you can continue to build your disciplined mindset even when the road ahead feels uncertain. But for now, reflect on the power of consistency and patience in your own life. How have these two elements shown up for you in the past? How can you apply them to your current goals? And what steps can you take today to continue building discipline, one small action at a time? Chapter 6. Staying motivated and focused through the tough times. The nature of motivation. Why it fades and how to keep it alive. Motivation is a powerful force, but it's fleeting. In the early stages of a new goal or project, motivation is high. You feel energized, excited, and ready to take on the world. Every step seems like progress, and every small success is a reminder of what's to come. But as time goes on, that initial burst of motivation starts to fade. You begin to encounter obstacles, distractions, and setbacks. The excitement fades, and suddenly, the goal that once seemed so clear and attainable starts to feel like a distant dream. This is where many people falter. They start strong, full of passion and determination, but when motivation wanes, they give up. They wait for that spark of inspiration to return, thinking that motivation is the only thing that can carry them forward. But the truth is, relying solely on motivation is a trap. Motivation, while powerful, is unpredictable. It's influenced by moods, circumstances, and external factors. If you wait for motivation to show up every time you need it, you'll find yourself constantly chasing it, never fully achieving the consistency you need to succeed. So, How do you stay motivated when motivation itself is unreliable? The answer lies in discipline. Discipline is what keeps you going when motivation fades. It's the decision to continue taking action, even when you don't feel like it. Discipline is about creating a routine, setting habits, and relying on your own internal drive to push you forward, even on the days when motivation feels absent. Let's dive deeper into the role of discipline in maintaining motivation. Discipline is not just about forcing yourself to work when you don't feel like it. It's about cultivating a mindset that doesn't rely on motivation to take action. This mindset sees the goal as an inevitable result of consistent effort. It understands that motivation will come and go, but consistent action will always produce results. One of the most effective ways to stay motivated, even when motivation is low, is to reconnect with your why. Your why is the underlying reason for your goal. It's the purpose that drives you. When motivation fades, it's easy to forget why you started in the first place. But when you remind yourself of your deeper purpose, it rekindles the flame of motivation. For example, let's say your goal is to get fit. In the beginning, you're motivated because you want to look good or feel better. But over time, those external reasons might not be enough to keep you going. This is when it's crucial to dig deeper. Maybe your why is to have more energy to play with your kids, to live a longer, healthier life, or to feel more confident in your own body. When you reconnect with these deeper, more personal reasons, your motivation becomes rooted in something more powerful than fleeting excitement. Another way to maintain motivation is to set small, achievable milestones. Long-term goals can feel overwhelming, especially when progress seems slow. But by breaking your larger goal down into smaller, manageable tasks, you can create a series of wins along the way. Each small success gives you a sense of accomplishment and reinforces your discipline. It also helps keep your motivation alive because you're constantly seeing progress. For example, if your goal is to write a book, it can feel daunting to think about writing the entire manuscript. But if you break it down into smaller tasks, like writing 500 words a day, the goal becomes more manageable. Each day you write, you can celebrate that small victory, which will fuel your motivation to keep going. Even on the days when you don't feel like working, these small milestones can provide enough momentum to keep you moving forward. It's not about waiting for motivation to strike, and it's about setting yourself up for success by creating a system of small, consistent actions that build on each other. Overcoming the urge to give up, building mental toughness. Now that we've explored how to keep motivation alive, let's talk about something even more important: mental toughness. Mental toughness is the ability to continue pushing forward when everything in you wants to give up. It's the strength to persevere, even when the odds seem stacked against you. Mental toughness is what allows you to keep going when motivation fades, when the challenges seem insurmountable, and when the road ahead looks difficult. Developing mental toughness requires a shift in perspective. It's not about being invincible or immune to difficulties. It's about developing the resilience to bounce back when things go wrong, and the determination to keep moving forward, no matter the setbacks. One of the keys to building mental toughness is embracing discomfort. We all naturally seek comfort and avoid pain, but true growth happens outside of your comfort zone. When you face difficult situations, whether they're physical, emotional, or mental, you have the choice to either step back or step forward. The mentally tough person steps forward. They lean into discomfort, knowing that each challenge they overcome strengthens their character and their ability to persevere. This doesn't mean that you should seek out hardship for the sake of it. Rather, it means that when difficulty arises, you don't shy away from it. You confront it head on, with the mindset that it is a part of the process, and you know that you are capable of handling it. Another important aspect of mental toughness is self-talk. The way you speak to yourself in difficult moments has a profound impact on your ability to persevere. When things aren't going as planned, do you say, "I can't do this. This is too hard"? Or do you say, "This is tough, but I can handle it. I'll keep going until I get through this"? The language you use shapes your mindset, and your mindset shapes your actions. Mentally tough people are able to reframe their thoughts in challenging situations. They understand that difficulty is temporary and that their ability to endure is what will ultimately carry them through. When they face obstacles, they don't let negative self-talk take over. Instead, they focus on the present moment, take one step at a time, and keep moving forward. Another powerful tool for building mental toughness is developing a strong sense of purpose. When you have a clear, compelling reason for doing what you do, it's easier to stay motivated and disciplined, even in tough times. Your purpose acts as a guiding light that keeps you focused on your long-term vision, even when the short-term difficulties seem overwhelming. When you're driven by purpose, it becomes easier to push through resistance and keep going, even when the journey gets tough. Purpose gives you the mental clarity to see beyond the challenges and focus on what really matters. The last key to building mental toughness is developing the ability to embrace failure as part of the journey. Mentally tough individuals don't let failure define them. They view failure as an opportunity to learn and grow. Every setback is simply a lesson, not a final destination. The more you can embrace failure as part of the process, the stronger your mental toughness becomes. You'll be able to bounce back quicker, learn from your mistakes, and keep moving forward with even more resolve. As you continue on your journey toward building discipline, remember that motivation will ebb and flow, but mental toughness will carry you through when things get tough. By developing mental resilience, staying connected to your purpose, and practicing positive self-talk, you'll be able to stay disciplined, even when the path gets difficult. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to refine your discipline by setting clear, actionable goals and creating a plan for continuous growth. We'll look at how to stay on track and make sure that your disciplined efforts lead to real, measurable progress. But for now, take a moment to reflect on your mental toughness. How do you respond when you face challenges? Are you ready to embrace discomfort and push through resistance? What steps can you take today to build the mental resilience that will help you stay disciplined no matter the obstacles? Chapter 7. Creating Lasting Change Through Discipline. The Path to Long-Term Growth Setting. Clear goals and creating a vision for your future. In all the work we've done so far, the foundation of discipline has been established. We've explored the psychology behind it, the habits that shape it, and the strategies for overcoming resistance. But now we need to take a step further. Discipline without direction is aimless. To turn your efforts into lasting success, you need clear, actionable goals and a vision for your future. Setting clear goals is one of the most powerful ways to ensure that your discipline leads to tangible, meaningful progress. A goal gives you something specific to work toward. It provides a roadmap that guides your actions, helping you stay on track even when motivation fades or obstacles arise. But setting goals is not as simple as deciding what you want and hoping for the best. To create lasting change, you need to set goals in a way that aligns with your values, fuels your discipline, and drives you toward growth. Let's begin by considering the nature of effective goals. Effective goals are SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. These qualities ensure that your goals are clear, actionable, and trackable. Without these elements, your goals may remain vague, and your discipline will lack the focus it needs to drive real results. Specific. A specific goal is one that clearly defines what you want to achieve. For example, instead of setting a goal like, I want to get fit, make it more specific. I want to run a 5K race in 3 months. This gives you a clear target to work toward. Measurable. A measurable goal allows you to track your progress. This helps you stay motivated and see how far you've come. For instance, I want to lose 10 pounds in 2 months is measurable, as opposed to the vague, I want to lose weight. You can track your progress toward this goal and adjust your actions as needed. Achievable. Your goal should be realistic. It should stretch you, but it shouldn't be so far out of reach that it feels impossible. A goal that's too ambitious can overwhelm you, while a goal that's too easy won't challenge you enough to foster growth. For example, setting a goal to run a marathon within a week is unrealistic for most people. However, setting a goal to run a 5K within a few months might be more achievable. Relevant, your goal should align with your values and long-term aspirations. It should be something that truly matters to you. Ask yourself, does this goal bring you closer to the person you want to become? Does it contribute to your long-term vision? Goals that are irrelevant to your life will fail to motivate you, no matter how disciplined you are. Time-bound. A goal should have a deadline. Without a time frame, there's no urgency, and the goal can feel open-ended. A deadline creates focus and momentum. For example, instead of saying I want to get in shape, say I want to lose 10 pounds in 2 months. The time frame creates a sense of urgency and helps you stay committed. Setting SMART goals ensures that you have a clear direction, a way to measure your progress, and a plan for reaching your destination. But there's one more crucial component to turning your goals into lasting change: creating a vision for your future. A vision is a mental image of where you want to be in the future. It's the big picture idea that inspires and motivates you to take action. While goals are specific and time-bound, your vision is broader and more long-term. Your vision is what drives you through the tough times, keeps you focused when you want to quit, and reminds you why you're putting in the work. Take a moment and think about your life 5, 10, or even 20 years from now. What do you want to have achieved? What kind of person do you want to be? Your vision is the foundation of your goals. When your vision is clear, it becomes easier to set goals that align with it. Your goals are the stepping stones that lead you to your vision. For example, if your vision is to live a life of health and vitality, your goals might include eating better, exercising regularly, and reducing stress. If your vision is to build a successful business, your goals might involve launching a product, increasing your customer base, and expanding your team. Each goal you set brings you closer to your larger vision, and each step you take reinforces your discipline and commitment to the journey. But here's the thing: your vision should not be rigid. It should evolve as you grow. As you achieve goals and experience life, your vision may shift and expand. You may discover new passions, learn new things about yourself, and realize that your original vision needs to be updated. This is part of the process, and it's a natural evolution of discipline. It's about being flexible and open to change, while maintaining focus on what truly matters. To create your vision, start by reflecting on what you want in each area of your life: health, career, relationships, personal development, and more. What does success look like in each of these areas? Don't limit yourself to what feels immediately achievable. Think about what would excite you, what would truly fulfill you, and what would challenge you to grow. Once you've defined your vision, make it vivid. Write it down in detail. Visualize it every day. The more clearly you can see your future, the more motivated you'll be to work toward it. Your vision will serve as a constant reminder of why discipline is worth the effort. Building a roadmap. From goals to action. Having a vision and setting goals is the first step, but now it's time to turn your vision into reality. This requires a roadmap, a plan of action that outlines the steps you need to take to achieve your goals and bring your vision to life. A roadmap helps you break down big, daunting goals into manageable steps. It gives you a clear path forward so you can stay disciplined and focused as you move closer to your destination. The first step in creating your roadmap is identifying the specific actions required to achieve your goals. This is where you break down your goals into smaller tasks. For example, if your goal is to run a 5K race, your roadmap might include tasks like run 3 times per week, track my progress with a fitness app, or eat healthy meals to fuel my workouts. The key to creating an effective roadmap is to focus on the actions that will move you forward. Don't get bogged down by the distractions or obstacles that may arise along the way. Stay focused on what you need to do and make sure that each task is actionable and realistic. Once you've identified your tasks, it's time to organize them into a timeline. This is where time management comes into play. By setting deadlines for each task, you create a sense of urgency that helps you stay focused and disciplined. Time management ensures that you're not just busy, but productive. So, another crucial aspect of creating a roadmap is identifying potential obstacles and planning for them. Challenges are inevitable, and the more prepared you are for them, the less likely they are to derail your progress. Whether it's a busy work schedule, lack of motivation, or unexpected setbacks, anticipate these challenges and come up with strategies to overcome them. This is where resilience plays a key role. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, adapt to change, and keep moving forward no matter what. When you encounter obstacles on your journey, your ability to stay resilient will determine how quickly you recover and get back on track. A powerful strategy for staying resilient is to celebrate small wins along the way. Every step you take toward your goal, no matter how small, is progress. Acknowledge these wins and use them as fuel to continue moving forward. When you celebrate small victories, you build momentum, which makes it easier to stay disciplined and focused. With a clear vision, smart goals, and a detailed roadmap, you're ready to create lasting change. But it's important to remember that this is just the beginning. Discipline is a lifelong practice, and the journey is ongoing. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to sustain your discipline over time, avoid burnout, and ensure that your efforts lead to long-term success. For now, reflect on your vision, your goals, and your roadmap. Are your goals specific and actionable? Do they align with your vision for your future? And do you have a clear plan for taking the necessary steps to achieve them? And building long-term success through sustainable discipline. By now, you've set your goals, crafted a clear vision for your future, and mapped out the steps you need to take to turn your aspirations into reality. You've laid the foundation for lasting change. But to truly make that change stick, you need to focus on sustainability. Building discipline is not just about achieving your goals. It's about creating habits and mindsets that support continuous growth, even once the initial excitement fades. The first key to sustaining discipline is managing your energy. Discipline isn't just about your time. It's about your energy. Over time, we all experience burnout if we push ourselves too hard without taking the time to recharge. To maintain long-term success, you must learn how to manage your energy so that you can stay productive and focused without exhausting yourself. One of the most important ways to manage your energy is by prioritizing rest. This may seem counterintuitive, especially when you're working toward big goals, but rest is essential for sustaining discipline. Without proper rest, your productivity will decline, your focus will wane, and your motivation will falter. Rest allows you to recharge both physically and mentally, so that you can return to your work with renewed energy and enthusiasm. Make sure to schedule regular breaks throughout your day, especially during periods of intense focus. Take a walk, stretch, or simply take a few minutes to clear your mind. Longer breaks, like vacations or weekends off, are equally important. These breaks give you the space to relax and recharge, which is helping to prevent burnout and keep your discipline strong. Another way to manage your energy is by cultivating a balanced lifestyle. When we focus all of our energy on one area of life, we risk neglecting other important aspects like our health, relationships, or emotional well-being. A disciplined life requires balance. While you work hard to achieve your goals, make time for rest, self-care, and connection with others. This balance is crucial for long-term success. When your physical, emotional, and mental health are all in harmony, you'll be better equipped to handle challenges and maintain your discipline, even in the face of adversity. Your energy will flow more naturally and you'll be able to stay committed to your goals without feeling drained or overwhelmed. The next element of sustaining discipline is self-reflection. To build long-term success, you must regularly check in with yourself. Self-reflection allows you to evaluate your progress, make adjustments, and keep your goals aligned with your values. Without self-reflection, it's easy to fall off course, especially as new opportunities or distractions arise. The practice of self-reflection helps you recognize patterns in your behavior and identify areas where you may need to improve. Are there goals that no longer resonate with you? Are there habits that no longer serve your well-being? Are you consistently staying true to your vision, Or have distractions taken you off track? Take time at the end of each week or month to reflect on your progress. Ask yourself questions like, what progress have I made toward my goals? What obstacles did I face? And how did I overcome them? Are there areas where I can improve? How am I feeling emotionally and physically? Do I need more rest, balance, or support? Self-reflection is not about self-criticism. It's about being honest with yourself and taking the time to evaluate your journey. It's an opportunity to adjust your course, refine your goals, and ensure that your efforts are always aligned with your long-term vision. Discipline thrives on awareness. When you take the time to reflect, you give yourself the clarity you need to stay focused, motivated, and on track. The third key to sustaining discipline is accountability. While self-discipline is important, having someone to hold you accountable can make all the difference in maintaining your commitment over the long term. Accountability partners provide the support and encouragement you need to stay disciplined, even when the road gets tough. An accountability partner is someone who checks in with you, encourages you, and holds you to your commitments. And this could be a mentor, a coach, a friend, or even a colleague. When you know that someone else is keeping track of your progress, it creates an external motivation to stay consistent. The accountability partner does not need to be someone who is directly involved in your goals. What matters is that they are someone who is supportive, reliable, and willing to ask the tough questions that will help you stay disciplined. They should be someone who will celebrate your wins, but also help you stay grounded when you face setbacks. Accountability is not just about having someone else check in on you. It's also about holding yourself accountable. One way to do this is by setting public commitments. When you make a commitment to a group or a community, you create a sense of responsibility that motivates you to follow through. This could be as simple as sharing your goals with friends or family, or joining a group that shares similar ambitions. Being accountable to others strengthens your resolve. It forces you to follow through on the promises you've made, which in turn reinforces your discipline. And the more you hold yourself accountable, the easier it becomes to stay disciplined on your own. One of the most important aspects of creating lasting change is understanding that success is a journey, not a destination. It's easy to think that once you've achieved a goal, you've made it. But the truth is, there's always more growth to be had, more learning to be done, and more challenges to overcome. Success is not a final state. It's a continuous process of growth and improvement. This mindset shift is crucial for long-term success. When you view success as a never-ending journey, you remain open to learning, adjusting, and evolving. You never stop striving to be better, to push your boundaries, and to refine your discipline. The process of growth becomes its own reward, and each step you take brings you closer to the person you're meant to be. One of the keys to maintaining this mindset is to embrace a lifelong learning approach. Discipline isn't just about sticking to routines. It's about being open to new knowledge, new skills, and new ways of thinking. The more you learn and grow, the more you'll be able to refine your discipline and make lasting changes in your life. As you continue on this path of growth, don't forget to celebrate your achievements. Each step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. Take time to acknowledge your progress, reward yourself for your hard work, and reflect on how far you've come. Celebrating your successes not only keeps you motivated, but it also helps reinforce the discipline that's driving you forward. Now that we've explored how to sustain your discipline and create long-term growth, we'll focus on how to continuously evolve your goals and vision. As you move forward, your vision will expand and shift, and so too will your goals. Discipline, when sustained over time, becomes a driving force for continuous improvement and lifelong success. As we reach the final chapter of this journey, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned and how far you've come. Building discipline is not a one-time task. It's a lifelong commitment. The vision you've crafted, the goals you've set, and the roadmap you've built are all tools that will guide you as you continue to grow. But here's the truth. The real change begins now. You have the tools you need, clarity in your goals, discipline in your actions, resilience in the face of challenges, and consistency in your approach. The next step is to trust the process and remain patient. The road ahead will never be without its bumps, but with the mindset you've developed, you can navigate them with focus and determination. Remember, the small wins you celebrate today are the foundation of tomorrow's successes. Every step, also no matter how small, is a victory. Every effort you make toward your goals, even when motivation wanes or obstacles appear, builds the strength of your character and the momentum of your progress. Discipline is not about being perfect or flawless. It's about showing up. It's about doing the work when it's difficult, staying committed when it's uncomfortable, and pushing forward when the world tries to pull you back. It's about honoring your commitment to yourself, even when no one else is watching, and it's about trusting that each small, consistent action will eventually add up to something extraordinary. But your journey doesn't end with this audiobook. In fact, this is just the beginning. Each day presents an opportunity for you to build on what you've learned, refine your goals, and continue to evolve. As you move forward, the discipline you've cultivated will continue to serve you, and the success you've worked for will become a natural result of your consistent efforts. Now take a moment to reflect on the actions you can take today, right now, to sustain your discipline. How can you integrate your vision into your daily life? What are the small, consistent steps you can take to keep moving forward, even on the tough days? And how will you celebrate your progress, no matter how small, to keep your motivation strong? Your goals are within reach. Your vision is yours to create. And with the discipline you've developed, nothing is out of your grasp. This is your time. Keep moving. Keep pushing forward. And remember, discipline is the key to lasting success.